And so we're continuing now with the Big Connect presented by Comcast Business, and we're on to our final segment here for today. We're talking small business, how to create a business plan and adapting your business strategy. We have a great panel lined up, and we're going to start with Bob Bishop, and I'll pull Bob in here right now. Bob, if you can see me.
I can.
All right, thank you, Bob. And I see we got Joe Williams as well. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, hi, Garrett.
Bob, it's all yours.
Great. So can I get the access to screen share?
You should have it. Try to do it. If you can't, we'll adjust. There you go.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. All right. So I am very excited to be here with our panel this afternoon, and our topic is how to create a business plan and adapting your business strategy, and very timely for where we are today. And I want to take a moment and go through our panel and allow them to do a brief introduction of themselves. So I will start with Joe Williams. Joe, would you can give us a brief introduction?
Hey, thanks, Bob. My name is Joe Williams. I am the business advisor assigned to the New Haven Chamber through the Connecticut Small Business Development Center, which is a collaboration between the Small Business Administration, the Department of Economic and Community Development, which is now housed at the University of Connecticut at Storer School of Business.
Great, thank you. And then next, I would like to introduce Marissa Gandelman and have her give us a brief introduction. Hi, Marissa.
Hi, Bob. My name is Marissa Gandelman. I'm a massage therapist here in New Haven, Connecticut, and I own Elm City Wellness, which is a couple of wellness centers here in our city.
Thank you. Great to have you join us. Next, both from Red Rock Branding, but we'll start with Glenn McDermott. Is Glenn here?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us, and welcome to the session this afternoon. We hope it's informative and instructive. My video is not working because I don't have privileges at this point, so I will, hopefully I'll be granted soon, and I'll pass it on to Eleanor.
Great. Eleanor?
Hi, everyone. Eleanor Slamba. I do community engagement work with Red Rock Branding, as well as run my own business, Verge Arts Group. And we believe, I guess for purposes of this audience, it'd be important to note that in this competitive landscape, it's important to be to recognize what you're so unique at that you can be considered an artist at what you do, no matter the industry or the sector. Very happy to be here.
That's a great point. Thank you. So as we, and I'm Bob Bishop, I'm from Apex Consulting, and I work with growth businesses. I'm a business growth coach, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go forward. But as we think about the topic of how to create a business plan and adapting your business strategy, this panel met briefly on Friday, and we talked about the fact that in 2020, in the spirit of the pivots that we've had to go through, that this is actually probably in an opposite order, that we're going to talk a little bit about the adapting of the strategy first, and then on the back end, Glenn and Eleanor have a great framework model for us to think about and use for building an adaptive business strategy.
Bob, I'll just let you know, we're just seeing your preview screen here. We're not seeing your full PowerPoint slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go into.
I am so dark.
Okay, so are we at what is step one in updating the strategy now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for the correction. So that brings us to the question then. Step one in updating a business strategy. I'm curious what any thoughts on that with folks that are with us. Anybody want to drop something in a chat? Thinking about where we are, right? There's a lot of times that people and the businesses that they're in get into ruts, get a little stuck on dealing with things that are short-term issues, struggling with what's happening. So I'm wondering if we have any thoughts in of what ought to be a step one in updating a strategy. What's necessary? Do you have anything coming in chat? Evolution. Yep. Okay. So what we were thinking as we looked at this is that step one, the most critical thing that we would see as being necessary is getting yourself unstuck from where you are, right? There's this rut situation that can become very difficult. It can become very all-consuming, and we want to try to find ways that basically we can get ourselves and get our businesses unstuck. So that's what we're going to share today. We're going to go through actually 4 different angles for getting yourself unstuck, getting yourself and your business unstuck. The first is we're going to talk about the keys to improving your thinking and what's necessary to step back from the situation and allow yourself to move forward. The second is we're going to talk about the tools that are available, and that's probably underselling it, but Joe's going to share with us a number of the ways that Connecticut local organizations have tools, techniques, sometimes financial assistance to help us get through. The third is we're going to spend some time with Marissa, and we're going to talk about, we're going to hear a little bit about how others have done it, how Elm City Wellness in a time where facing a lot of headwinds has been amazingly aggressive in moving forward and keeping a vision of the future. And then third, we're going to share with the folks from Red Rock, or they're going to share with us on how you can do it, what a framework might look like that you can use to move forward. So the first thing that we're going to talk about a little is the key to improving your thinking. And what I want to share for a moment is a concept called the Stockdale Paradox. It was found and written about originally by Jim Collins in his book Good to Great. And the Stockdale Paradox is in relation to Admiral Stockdale. He was a prisoner of war in Vietnam and Hanoi for approximately 7 years, subject to situations and things in that period of his life that most of us probably can't even imagine. And they asked him after he got out, what was the key to his surviving and getting through strong? Because there were a lot of people that didn't make it physically and emotionally. And when he got out and they interviewed him, he said basically the key was keeping 2 things that seemed like very opposite things in mind, but actually holding them in your mind at the same time. One is that, and I'll read this, I guess, from right to left, is confronting the brutal facts, right? You've got challenges in front of you. He had serious challenges in front of him, limitations in what he was able to do. And they were serious, right? He had in many ways, he had very little power. But at the same time, as acknowledging those significant challenges, retaining the faith that you will prevail, and that in the long run, where you're headed in the longer period is still where you're going to be. And pulling those 2 things together is really important to have success in challenging times. And what I like to do when I'm working with people in businesses is start to frame things a little bit and think about it that way, and even draw a line down the center of a piece of paper like this and say, what is it that I'm most worried about, and what is it that I'm most optimistic about, and write those down. There's some power in actually writing these things down and being very specific about what are your fears, and even getting to the next level. Well, why is that a fear? Where's that coming from? What's the worst possible thing that can happen? And getting very specific with those. And that can be very powerful when you get them on paper, because sometimes you'll see that they're not quite as difficult to overcome as you may have thought, or they may not be as insurmountable as you may have thought. So it's important to get them down that way. And another way of thinking about this is a model that you've probably seen about a circle of concern versus circle of control. And I'm not going to read through all the elements on this page, but there's a circle of things that you're worried about. There's a lot of things that are coming at us. There's a lot of things that we can't control. And if we allow those things over which we have no control to consume too much of our energy and too much of our focus, it becomes very counterproductive, right? And so if we can take that circle of things that we really can control and maybe even expand it, create a bigger list, find other things that you can do and focus on that inner circle. It's a very empowering way to think about things. Going back to this model, thinking about the other side, what is it that you're optimistic about? what are the things that you can really drive? What are the things that can make you stronger in the long run? And a great example I like to give of this is the London Underground. Back in 2014, they had a workers' strike that was very significant. Millions of British commuters had to basically find a significant amount of the tube was unusable due to the strike, and millions of commuters had to find new paths to work. And what they found after the strike is that somewhere between 5 and 10% of the commuters actually used the new path that they had created to work after the strike was over. They found that the path that they were taking was actually better than the one that they were using before. If it weren't for the strike, they wouldn't have been forced to find a different path, which in some cases was actually better. So there's great opportunity sometimes in these challenges to find something different and to make ourselves better. And finally, I'll just share a little bit of the framework that I use with businesses and their leaders. We think about answering questions in 4 key aspects of your organization: people, strategy, execution, and cash. And in 2020, I've pivoted that a little bit in some of these topics. People, like understanding who your people are, how they contribute to your organization, how you keep them active and engaged is still critical, and still really has changed very little. Strategy has changed in the fact that, like we're talking about today, there's a need for a lot of pivot. There's a need to be a little bit more nimble than usual. Execution has had some changes. Processes have been key. Processes have changed, but at the same time, things like communication have become even more valuable, have become more critical. Many of the most successful businesses have actually increased the frequency with which they have certain meetings. Maybe not increasing the length of those meetings, but increasing the opportunity for touch points. And then also in cash, there's some opportunity there as well. Look at how cash is being managed in your business. Think about what make sure that things are priced properly for the effort and for the value that's being delivered. So there are still plenty of opportunities in 2020 and within the challenges that we have. One great thing to think about is if we go back to the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. I was doing a little research last night. Companies like Uber, Dropbox, Slack, Venmo, Instagram, Pinterest, all developed during that time, right? If we open our thinking and find ways to move forward, there's often opportunities during these turbulent times. So it's an important thing to think about. A quick, I'll share my email. If anyone looking to go deeper on these conversations for your specific business, I would be glad to do that. But the next thing I want to do for purposes of today's session is move over to Joe and reintroduce Joe Williams. And Joe is, again, from the Connecticut Small Business Development Center, and I probably can't do any justice to the wide volume of offerings that Joe and his group have. Every time I spend time talking to him, I'm amazed at what's out there and what he and his group have to help smaller businesses. So with that, I want to turn over and if you want to share your screen, Joe, if you have something there, we can certainly do that. But we'd love to hear what you've got.
Yeah, I definitely want to see if I can share my screen. Where's my IT guy when I need him? Come here for a second. First and foremost, when we're talking about Unstuck, this is a book that I think every business right now needs. How to get unstuck as a business right now. Here's the author, you can see it. Barry Maltz, very good business consulting, but this is a must-have right now book that should be in every small business hand here in America. How to get unstuck. 25 different ways that a business should be looking at levels of how to get unstuck, especially in this pandemic time frame. What I want to share, if I can show you my screen, let me just come offline for a second and stop the video and trying to share my screen. I want to show that. Let me see. There we go. And here we go. That's the one I want. Can you guys see my screen? You can see my screen? Great.
Got it.
But I can't see it. Oh, okay. So SPDC, Small Business Development Center, what do we do? And how can you find us? And what resources do we have for small business right now? I've already told you we were a collaboration, been around for 40 some odd years, 39 really this year. Act of Congress put us together. The Small Business Administration, DCD, and UConn primarily are the funders of our organization. Everything that we do, all 20 advisors, it is free to you and the public as a small business owner. What we get involved in is a lot of business advising and services, financial analysis, preparing a lot of capital needs, marketing, social media, things that you really need every day as a small business. We really help you with that. But that's not what I really came to talk to you about. I really want to give you some tools that we utilize here in our office. So we provide our guidance, just give you some quick snapshot of how much money and capital we've raised in the last 5 years, from 2014 to 2019, almost $300 million or so now. I think we did about 89 million this past year, just in COVID financing and other capital debt and equity financing here in the state of Connecticut. Everyone's talking about PPP. There are webinars. I just want to make that aware that there are webinars for you guys. Anyone who has a $50,000 or less PPP, there is a short form that you can fill out. You can actually contact my office or contact your bank. That form is available. It's been up about now 3 weeks or so. So just be aware of that. If you're less than $50,000, there is a shorter form to do that, but we can help you with that and walk you through that. We do have a COVID-19 Business Resource Center that is available to you. So please check that out. And I'll give you my website at the end. But truly what's happening right now in this pandemic is thinking about organizing a framework. We know that a business plan is a living, breathing document. Many of us are having to look back at that strategy of how to employ, a pivot, or what's this recovery going to look like? How are we going to reopen, and what steps that we may possibly take? The department and I and my colleagues, we actually help you through that through a strategic and methodology that we employ on a daily basis. And so a couple of things that we actually do, we have something called an adaptive business system. And I'm not going to go through everything, but you can kind of read things on the screen that we actually talk about and help you do with an adaptive approach to what's going on right now during this pandemic. And even if there wasn't a pandemic, these are something natural tools that you may utilize just for business purposes alone. And talking about that, one big document that I use is called Bottom Line, which is a pro forma modeling software. So this is banking software that was created by the government in our department to really help those businesses that are not accountants, don't have financial backgrounds. We can actually take your revenue and income and produce your balance sheet, your income statements, and all financial documents pretty much that you would need to take to a financial institution. This saves a lot of time for our clients. This is available to you. It gives you a real snapshot when you need to access capital, especially now. Most businesses should have some type of credit line established, and we help you with this. This is the tool that we utilize that will help you actually put together your financials that you would see in your business plan. The other thing, if you don't want to go through a full business planning process, but you're having problems within the business, we use a tool called GrowField. And what GrowField does is look at the 19 different areas of a business and pinpoint the 3 key areas that are most problematic for that company at that present time. And through these worksheets and these decision sheets, we actually work through the solving of the problem. So if I didn't have limited time or resources to do a full blown out business plan, here's an avenue that we take an approach called GrowField of really identifying what are the 3 greatest things affecting your business from a profitability standpoint, to a marketing standpoint, whatever it may be. It's going to be under one of these 19 categories. And we examine that and we take you through these worksheets to actually pinpoint that and come up with solutions in one sitting, which is actually significant. Another thing that we get involved to is another piece of software that we have in our office is called Industrial CFO. And what Industrial CFO is, this is banking software. This takes your balance sheet and compares your company against all other companies in your industry. And it can be done by region. It is a very useful tool. It actually pinpoints the profitability, the ROI, where you're having late on accounts payable, accounts receivable coming in. This document will show you your actually threshold of your profitability of your business at the time of that balance sheet being produced. Very significant document in and of itself. And another document we use a lot, most universities throughout our country have access to this document as well, but any client of the SPDC, this document is free to you. Normally this document is $900 if you're not at a university or connected to one of the centers. This is a 37-page marketing industry insight report, which deals deep into anything going on in the Pacific industry. And I think right now it's very important in this pandemic that we really look at where we are in comparison to the rest of the industry and what's going on here in the United States. So this document, this IBIS World, and this tool is something that we use when we have to deal deep dives into market research. Where do we pivot? Where can we go? What possible opportunities are in my industry or industry that I'm thinking about going into? We use the IBIS World Report for that. And then to go along with the IBIS World Report, you can't open a business unless you really know demographics and where to spend data. So we use a report called ESRI, which is, you see on the screen, it's a report that if I want to open up, say, shop somewhere here in, say, Rock Hill or say New Haven, I want to know the median income of the residents here by a 2-mile radius. The ESRI report would actually pull that demographic data for you. So you're making more smart, informative decisions as a business owner. Something that you definitely would want to put into your business plan, especially in the market segmentation section or the marketing section of your business as you put together your SWOT analysis. These reports, IBIS World and the ESRI report, will actually help you gather that information, as well as also the U.S. Census Bureau is another good resource for marketing demographic data. Coming soon, this is a quick snap. We will be having online versions of this because we know that we're in this pandemic. We want you to have access to webinars and things of that nature. So we're working on our actual internal library here at the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. And lastly, there's over 26 locations. And our contact information, as you see on the screen, simply go to ctsbdc.com. Our phone number is listed right there. Feel free, go and register. It is free to you. Everything I've talked about is available to everyone on this call. So just feel free to contact us. We're here to help you. Bob, I guess you can take it away.
Well, thanks, Joe. Actually, and I have a question for you. Again, every time I see this, I learned something new that SPDC has to offer to local businesses. And if I'm an owner or a manager or someone within a local business, I mean, what's the first step? Sometimes this is overwhelming, the amount of options. I mean, what should I do first?
Well, first you should definitely register with our department. And with that, there's a series of questions that you go through, questionnaire, which is just simple, basic information. I'm telling us a little bit about your company and your actual needs. Why are you seeking help from the government? And so through that, we actually put together like a 2-page little questionnaire. It tells a little bit about your business. I would say it's the precursor, if you will, the outline to your actual business plan. Because most people come to us really seeking, I say 80% of my clients come for financing. And with that, I kind of need to know where you are as you walk in the door. And then from there, where do you want to go? And then what we tend to do through our council sessions is to fill in the blanks. That's truly that's the starting point for any small business here in the country, really, that SPDCs throughout the country. What we actually do, we evaluate, we look at your situation, we say, where do you want to go? And then we teach you how to get there and work with you.
Great, well, thank you. I'm going to try to jump back into screen sharing here. Here we go. And let's pull that up. I think we're good. So, and here is website, email, numbers, etc. for contact. And again, reach out. There's a lot of great resources that are available to all of us here. So moving on, so we've talked about how to think about things and how to change your perspective as we're dealing with the challenges of 2020. We've also talked a little bit about some of the tools available. So now I want to move on to a more of a real life story and bring Marissa on. And Marissa, when I first met you back in late spring, early summer, I believe, I was amazed that with Elm City Wellness being in a space where a lot of the restrictions were causing were significant part of your business that just by rule you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. Here's another restriction. Here's another barrier, and yet you were moving forward. You had a very much of a can-do attitude, and then amazingly, you were telling me about well, we're going to open a second location at the same time, which just really blew my mind. And I want to kind of step back to that a little bit and give us a little bit of the picture from that.
Well, it's been an interesting year, and I'm grateful to have met some very interesting people over this year, you included, as a part of how we kind of pivoted, how we shifted, how we took I don't know, at the beginning it was not, I was going to say how we took the fear of it all and transformed it into something else, but we didn't have fear at the time because it was just shock. We were in a state of shock, and we were in a place of just needing to survive. We have about 30 employees, and we needed to make sure that, and I mean, this is one of the, what I like to call like one of the vibrating centers of New Haven. Like, we're one of the places that kind of like, we're support. We're the places, we're the place where people go when the world doesn't seem right, when they have levels of fear or need to start working on things that are coming up emotionally, usually because of outside environments. And we had a big outside environmental trigger this year, and people didn't have a place to go because we had to close for 5 months. It was there, sometimes even now, there are still no words for it. But what we did was we stayed on a very skeleton crew. I have an amazing team of women who work in management and administrative and therapeutic capacities at Elm City Wellness, and a few men too. And we stayed on a skeleton crew, and we managed all of the administrative stuff that we could. We were, what were we? We were about 3 weeks to 4 weeks out from opening our second location when we had to shut down in March. So that moved forward a little bit more slowly afterwards, but we still opened, and we opened in July when we reopened our other office, Elm City Wellness, like the original, the OG. So when we opened both, we had to take some steps to slowly do it. So I'll just step back a little bit. PPP was a big help, and as much as it wasn't, it's a struggle no matter what. We needed to make sure, I needed to make sure that everybody got paid. I needed to make sure that people were not struggling. We had Zoom chats with like all 30 of us. We would tear up every time we saw each other. We would have creative brainstorming ways in which we could still stay in touch with our community. And what we kind of landed on was building a separate Facebook group, interestingly, because while we all do social media, we're not all big social media people. We don't spend a lot of time on it. We're kind of like hands-on doers. So shifting into this online realm and still giving our voice, still making sure that Elm City Wellness still sounded like Elm City Wellness, which is a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, a lot of community talk, and a lot of wellness talk about self-care, how we manage during this time, and also laying it really bare about how me personally, how I'm managing it for myself, and how my staff is too. So we did all of that online. We shifted to a group format where the engagement comes far beyond the New Haven community, but the New Haven community is definitely the solid base that is making up this group. And that was intended. The intention is so that, or the intention was, and worked so that when we reopened, we'd have a community ready to welcome us back and to step in and to trust that what we were doing was basically the way Elm City Wellness always does things, like just above and beyond what needs to be done. So the level of PPE, the planning that we had to do to reopen and to keep the public informed about it was a big undertaking. And I think we did okay with it. So when we reopened, we were able to open to a client base. Our staff came back slowly. They came back at a pace that worked for us to be able to get them booked, and we're still working on it. Last month, when we rolled back to phase 2, and then we re-rolled forward to phase 2.1, we were very scared for a bit because it took away our skincare for a while that we had just re-implemented for phase 3. And that's a huge part of our earnings. It was one of our ways to start digging ourselves out, to start balancing back. So when that rolled back, it was a big blow for us, which we were able to bounce forward and continue doing skincare in the end. But I will say we're going to be pretty straightforward and honest about how hard it is, and we're going to lay it out every opportunity we get. With that said, we're also going to boost any small business that comes into contact with us any way we can, because we know how hard it is, and we want to be able to like hold the hands of those around us. We're watching too many of our colleagues kind of succumb to this, and we want to kind of still be that support for the community, for the businesses around us, but we have to do it for ourselves first, because we cannot pour from an empty cup, and I will not let Elm City Wellness pour from an empty cup. So let's just say there's a lot of balls in the air right now.
Certainly sounds like it. Certainly sounds like it. And I can't help but notice as you share, right? There's a lot of talking about a lot of talking about your team and your people. I mean, can you share how your team has come through this and how you view the group working together?
Again, words. Sometimes like I get a little verklempt when I think about it. And those are the gratitude things that I actually must go back to daily in order to keep going forward. Our team is unreal. Like, we built something solid, something that I'm super proud of what we have built. So much so that the strength of what we need right now comes through. We have, just as you said, we have protocols, we have procedures in place. These were things set up long before shutting down. Because of protocols and procedures, we were able to up our communication levels. We were able to actually learn how better to communicate, in what format to do so in this time, because we're all not there. I mean, look, I'm zooming you right now from my bedroom, because most of the time I'm not in the office. I'm no longer a body worker. I'm a manager of the office, and there are other managers in the office too. So I stay home and come up with the ideas. We throw spaghetti on the wall over here, and I let my managers over when they're in the office, like pluck it off or throw it back at me, and we come up with new ideas. So I can do a lot of it from here, a little frustrating at times. And I do know that in order to make sure that I stay in touch with my business, I'm in there getting care. I just came from acupuncture this morning, and I'll go for massage probably next week.
Great. As I was preparing and pulling a couple of slides together in preparation for this session today, I actually, and I'll spring this on you without any preparation, but I found on your site these Spotify playlists that the one I've got here is the virtual hug on Spotify.
I love that one.
Just was struck by, right, that's such a such a thing that I would never have imagined would be something that an organization like Elm City Wellness would be providing. I mean, where do those kind of ideas come from?
We are all about community. There is nothing bigger and more important to me, and to probably most of those who work at Elm City Wellness, than community, and what the power of that means. Like, if we, I don't know, hypothetically, if we as a community stood in a circle and held hands together, we can raise a vibration if we think in a positive way. Say we put someone in the middle of that circle, who we want to give some love to. Maybe we don't even put anybody in that circle. Maybe we just put thoughts in that circle. And we all just stand in that circle and we hold hands and we think great thoughts about that person or those people that we've all individually put in that circle. I'm not going to say that necessarily someone's going to call and say, I felt something today. Were you thinking about me? But it happens. And that's generally what we do in a bigger, more metaphorical sense. We create a community circle that is safe, that is for the community to come and heal. We're not your healers. I am my healer, but I'm not your healer. I'm not your healer, Bob, either. I'm your helper. I have some tools as a trained therapist, massage therapist. I have other colleagues with me who have trained with other tools, and they're your helpers. And so what we do is we provide this safe space, whether it be through sound, like on Spotify, whether it be through kinesthetic touch, whether it be through just straight up education on our website. If you want to learn more about CBD or acupuncture or why it's beneficial or why skincare is a big deal when done properly with the right tools, because the largest organ on your body is your skin. So we use all tools to educate. And when we have an educated community, we tend to have a community that cares a lot more about each other. So that's what we try to do. And we're part of that here in New Haven.
That's great. That's great. One more thing I'd like to circle back on is you referenced a little bit earlier your team, and you called out the women who are in leadership positions, and I know that you have a lot of involvement with women in leadership locally, and we've had some discussions. And share with us a little bit on your thinking in that area, and what having, especially with the Big Connect having a focus on women leadership this year. What can you share with us on that topic?
Women in leadership are really like the future of leadership, completely. The way in which I have observed how women work, especially when they're heard and respected, when there's actual equity, when there's real equality involved in what we do and how valuable it is, it almost becomes a non-issue. It's really a non-issue. We're literally just good leaders doing good work. And what I do is, as a business owner, as someone who didn't know what she was doing as she did it, observed it, receives the information and processes it and does this, I was able to observe that I'm not a micromanager. I delegate very well, especially when we've built a space for trust. So it's a top-down thing. I trust my staff to do what they do. There's oversight and procedures, just as any business needs to have, to make sure that we're not losing money. But what we're doing is we're not really putting money at the forefront of what is most important for the business. Of course it's important. Of course it's a part of how we survive, but it's not the most important thing. I'm not going to remember this business as how much money we earned ever. I'm going to remember this business by how we've affected the community, because they tell us. We don't really have to ask, they tell us. So this is a big deal for us that way. I don't know. Elm City Wellness is a really special place for New Haven, and it's been built that way because of the leadership that has done that. And that's without me. This is like almost me removed. It's what we've allowed to just let circulate. Therapists have suggestions. They don't like something, we hear about it. They have no qualms. They have no issues with addressing things. And I don't know how many people have employees that don't have a problem knowing how to respectfully want to affect change and do so. And we allow space for everybody to do that, whatever gender you identify with or not. We respect any person that wants to help the community. And if they've chosen to do it with Elm City Wellness, then even better. So that's kind of the philosophy we have. And as a result, leadership works. It's just an interesting way in which we do things. Ego gets put in check a whole lot more quickly, I see. And we kind of really love working together. All those months of being apart, they were the hardest months for that reason. So when people like working together collectively, when they respect each other, when it's shown from the top, and when they are fully empowered by people like me in charge, like the sky's the limit. So I'm all for whatever comes through.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I mean, I'm one of my favorite authors is Simon Sinek, and he, talking about developing the why of a business or of any organization, and how critical that is, and how so many people will start, well, my business exists to make money, and he quickly pushes back that that's a byproduct, and that's certainly necessary for the business to be an ongoing concern. However, that's never the why of an organization, right? And it takes a little bit of careful thinking, and it takes it takes I would say forward-thinking management to be able to drive that. But your why is never about making money, and if you can get beyond that and really figure out where that is and what that means, then you can start to see some of the activities and some of the results that you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what we get.
Great
to do.
stuff.
Yeah, we're proud of what.
Well, that's great. We wish you continued success. It's exciting, again, seeing that you've expanded the organization, that you've got a second, that you're continuing to move things forward. That's really great, and I'm sure that there'll be more challenges, but I'm sure that you and your team will be up to them. So we're excited to see where things go.
Me too. Thanks, Bob.
Sure. Thank you. So again, Elm City Wellness, that's Marissa from Elm City Wellness, elmcitywellness.com, if you'd like more information about the organization or their locations. So now we're going to move on to Red Rock Branding, to Glenn and Eleanor, and they're going to share with us a framework for business development. And I think we're going to have you guys take over screen share here to move through your presentation, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So what we're looking for is, and what we're excited to see here is the program that allows for a business plan that is nimble in a time where that's really a critical thing.
Well, thank you for having us.
Go.
Thank you for the introduction, Bob and Joe. What a great stories we heard from you, and Marissa. I was very moved by your journey and your good work and your continued community. And it's a wonder we haven't met, because we operate in many similar circles. And what a pleasure it is here to be talking today about how we can pivot through this disruption. Everyone has experienced one or more levels of disruption through this sort of zombie apocalypse. So what we thought today is that we could just share some of the work that we've been doing, some of the ideas that we have, some of the framework that we have been using with existing clients, because we found it useful, our clients have found it useful, and if we can, as Marissa said, boost all the small business community and come out of this together, then we will be in a good space. So just quickly, a little bit about Red Rock. We've been building healthy communities since 2010. We initially launched around public health and wellness, and worked a lot with Yale, Columbia, and Tulane universities around some of their public health initiatives. And really, it's a personal passion of mine and the whole team. And I will take this opportunity to welcome Eleanor Slumber, who's our Director of Community Engagement, and Ali Sordi, who is often behind the screens as our Creative Director, doing things like building this deck that we're going to be looking at today, and all the wonderful creative work that she's been doing. But, our starting point with our clients is really to better understand what their needs are. And they all have different needs. And particularly now, when we've come out of this kind of, free fall, basically, where everyone is in some state of distress, everyone has different needs. And we spend a fair bit of time trying to figure out what those needs are. So it's really like asking the questions, what keeps you up at night? What keeps your customers up at night? And really, we take that journey of empathy to figure that out before you start to waste any time on or spend any money on marketing. And we say, kind of like Bob was hinting at with Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek talks about the why, and we've sort of extended that thought a little bit to say, well, it's about the purpose, and we really help organizations develop what their purpose is and articulate that in a way that it brings the team together, it brings the customers together, and it really brings the community around the brand in a way that kind of Marissa articulated quite well, I thought. So we find that getting to that sense of purpose really becomes the most robust kind of framework for any branding exercise. So like I said, we've been around for a while. We are based out of district and now remotely. And we're really enjoying the fact that we can work remotely. We've been doing it for some time, so it came as no great shock to us. And we really focus on small businesses and not-for-profits that are really looking at what they can do to build social good and create stakeholder equity in a much broader sense. So one of the frameworks that we looked at, and we looked at many, was this organization called Strategize, and they're based in Europe, and they've produced some really powerful books, documents, business frameworks that have been adopted by the global community, and we thought it's the best place to start. The first one that we worked with was the business model generator. Thank you, Eleanor, for modeling that, which has a lot of great information. And one of the most sort of powerful ones for us was, what's the value proposition? How do you design a good value proposition? And we created quite a few workshops using that platform that we've been able to deliver to all of our clients. And it's a really profound way to start because it helps them understand what is uniquely what products they deliver, and really helps us as a good starting point. But today, we're really going to be basing it on their latest publication, which is called The Invincible Company, which Eleanor has also read. She's a great student. And really that's kind of the structure of today's conversation, very kind of interactive and very much giving you some tools to think about, to not waste this crisis, to come out of this zombie apocalypse in the most profound way and in good shape. And obviously we're talking about this now because through COVID, just about everybody's value proposition has changed or is about to change because all of the customer needs have changed. And of course, there are some people that are touched by this more profoundly, particularly I'm thinking, restaurants and people in the arts and entertainment have really had to shift how they continue customer engagement and what sort of products they deliver. At Red Rock, we've been we've taken on quite a few new products. We're doing podcasts for most of our clients now because podcasts are a really good way to, at scale, deliver communication effectively. We've been doing virtual open houses for some of our clients because it's a really good way to give people a walk and talk through the facility or the gallery or whatever it is in a way that is COVID proof. And we've also obviously become quite skilled at delivering these Zoom events because all of our clients who were previously doing live events have had to flip to that as well. So that's been a great learning experience. So everyone on this call, I'm sure, is thinking about their pivots and what they've had to shift to. And these are the kind of touch points that we'll be looking at today. So I think we, like I said, we all have a different starting point. We all have different kind of issues that we're dealing with at the moment. And at Red Rock, we've been able to pivot in some ways to meet those.
So the central thesis of this Invincible Companies book is that your company isn't just one thing that you offer. It's this living, growing kind of portfolio of projects, really, and to keep some always in the pipeline, in the form of ideas that you can pull out in response to changing circumstances. And so that we found to be a useful thing to think about and to work with our clients. So that's what we're going to present to you today, is how to do that.
So we've developed this simple survey that it's really only 8 questions, and it'll take you less than 2 minutes to do. And I think Ali's going to drop the link into the chat now. And we'd welcome you all to do it as a way to check in with yourself and give you a kind of a point score on how well prepared you are to work with this.
It's completely optional. You can do it later as well. You can tuck it away and still move on with us with the presentation. But if you like, it's a chance to just really look honestly at your business model in light of current circumstances. And that may be on we think, and you'll hear us talk about front of the house, front stage parts of the business model, and back of the house or backstage. So I'll just explain those quickly. The front would be anything that's customer facing, that the customer can, or client, or however you describe that customer relationship, subscriber, member, what have you, what they can see and notice about your offering in the marketplace. Certainly that includes all the marketing and sales, but also customer service. Whereas the back of the house, or the backstage parts of your business model, anyone who's walked through the business model canvas is already familiar with this, but I won't assume that's our audience, is the assets, the resources, the partnerships, the supply chain, the decisions and stuff you need to deliver your product or service to the marketplace that the customer's not typically aware of or can't see. So the questions in the inventory are grouped into those terms, and we find that to be useful kind of navigational tool to walk around inside your business model, especially as we start to tweak things and talk about potential pattern shifts.
Thank you, Eleanor, for that very eloquent delivery there. Just while you're doing that, or while you're thinking about it, I just want to share a little bit of a case study, if you like, of one of our clients. It was a large sort of John Deere dealership who had a lot of, those bright, shiny John Deere tractors out there cutting the grass. And it was a maintenance company, so they had a lot of contracts with, residential people and commercial. And we were marketing their products in a way that we're featuring the machines, the people, the fact that they'll be on time and, won't leave a mess. As you would expect, what we thought was the value proposition. But after walking through this workshop with the customers, we took time out to figure out, well, what's really in it for them? What are their pain points? What would they likely gain from hiring this company? And we found that it had nothing to do with shiny green tractors. It had nothing to do with the fact that they were on time and so on. Getting down to it was really about getting their weekend back. So it was around about gaining control of their leisure time. And it sort of a light bulb went off, because we were like, of course it is. But at that point, when we changed our messaging, then it really gained traction. And YouTube was a very critical channel in delivering those messages. We created a lot of content around how their machines work and so on, which really helped gain a lot of traction with their audience. And so, now they've got millions of views on YouTube and that kind of thing. And John Deere are very much looking at it as an authentic campaign that really sort of hit on the needs of their clients in a most authentic way. So that's just an example of one of the outcomes that we found. And we enjoy this journey because it often reveals things that you may not have thought about. And that's You know, it's a challenge when you look at the take this journey of empathy to find out what it is that which is most important. Eleanor, did you want to walk and talk us through this?
Well, if people have opened up the quiz, then they are going to see these questions. So again, have you become more important to your customers or even gained customers along this journey? This is really a chance to really get out of this inventory what you put into it, as far as being honest and taking stock of your feedback loops. How many sources of real honest data from the marketplace are you looking at on a regular basis to be able to answer these questions? So if it's hard or difficult, then that's a clue or a suggestion to work on strengthening some of the feedback loops, so that you're really able to sense what's going on. And believe it or not, you know, we do need to start there sometimes. The Backstage Inventory looks at, you know, how hard is it for others to get into your business? What sort of skills, presumably, you know, we all have a lot invested, are the skills and technology that you've invested in your business a bar that makes it more difficult for others to get into, or not? And that can be a clue as we go forward, which kinds of pattern shifts might make sense for you to become even more adaptable. And the bottom line, as we follow through this value proposition canvas, is relates to your cost centers, your revenue streams. We say multiple streams because you know, we like business models that are testing out new revenue streams as you're maybe relying on your core one. But as economics change and the venture capital landscape changes, again, what kind of pipeline do you have where you could pull out something new to test or to shift? And we'll get into that in a moment. So the main buckets that this quiz is going to kind of dump you unceremoniously into is, you know, surviving, which is great, you know, to live to die another day. There's nothing wrong with that. Thriving could be that your business is growing in light of current circumstances because things are going your way. But to be fully optimized for adaptability means to be kind of proofed or ready for different ways the wind could blow, and different ways you could shift your business model to keep that portfolio of projects robust in your under the umbrella of your business. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Glenn?
No, I think you said it well.
Okay. All right, so let's click on through here, because this is where I can really geek out. We have limited time today, which we'll stay within and respect. But if you want to geek out more with us about business models, you're welcome to visit us after in the virtual booth. But again, there's what the Invincible Company book has done is taken a lot of brand names, a lot of businesses that we've all grown up with, and kind of abstracted them into this pattern library of kinds of businesses. And so that's cool, because you can take a pattern from, just because it's not your industry doesn't mean that there's not a useful pattern there that you could borrow from and adapt and try something out in your business. So when we say try something out, it may sound cavalier or risky. If we don't say this at the end, I'll say this now in case you miss it. We're not talking about betting the house on one grand experiment. We're talking about lots of small, growth experiments where you can get feedback quickly and kind of validate to know where to continue to shift. So some pattern shifts in the kind of front of the house realm that the customers could see. One is if you're going from a niche to a mass market. TED Talk came up earlier when the Women's Power panel were asked what their favorite TED Talks were. I love one called The Danger of a Single Story. But what TED did was go from an exclusive ticketed kind of event to a real mass market. And what they had to spend in greater marketing and what they lost in any revenue that they may have lost by pushing out the content for free, they gained in greater sponsorships revenue, which is really what they decided to go after in becoming the brand known for ideas worth sharing. To get to that level of brand engagement took that kind of a shift. And so they went from there. Another front stage shift is represented by the Intel Inside campaign. If you're hidden, if you're kind of a part inside, if you're a component inside a product or service, the customer may not necessarily be aware of you, but we've seen examples where, like Gore-Tex is another, where it comes up in a number of different products, and that product can charge a premium because it includes your thing inside of it. So the microprocessors that were known for reliability had a higher price point, but Intel was able to develop a whole new marketing campaign and sign their manufacturers up to include, this laptop has Intel inside, so that the customer became aware of something that had previously been invisible. So if your product or service is kind of on the back end, you could think about a campaign like that as a possible front stage shift. Another, from low touch to high touch, is what we're seeing in the move towards concierge style services. If you rely on high tech, this is like the Apple Genius Bar. If there's anything kind of new about your technology that you might need to hold people's hand and walk through, then you can build that into your business model and also charge a premium for that. Thanks, Glenn. Backstage shifts. If your business model has gotten you greatly familiar with one particular type of material or a resource, a supply that you're intimately familiar with, you could look at other uses for that and attract whole other customer segments. Fujifilm did this based on its knowledge of collagen. And believe it or not, the way photographic film ages has a few things in common with the way human skin ages. And so a film company getting into a line of skincare is just a very, cool, but to some perhaps very unexpected shift. Another example of this is 23andMe, where you have customers on signing up to get their own genetic readings done, but in the process have this great database. And some might have some squeamishness, but there's also been some great success stories about access to the database as a way to solve particular business problems, and that becomes a whole new kind of line. From asset heavy to asset light would be if you're responsible for kind of an infrastructure. There are some mobile cell phone companies that were competing based on who had the most robust infrastructure, but Airtel, who became the third largest in India, which, if you're talking about a population the size of India, third largest is huge, decided to completely outsource the infrastructure, and so it could focus on marketing, sales, and customer service instead. So there might be some times where you can step away from being responsible for assets, the stuff, the physicality of your business, and outsource that and grow a little leaner that way. Closed to open innovation. A classic example is Microsoft purchasing GitHub, after years and years of saying it wanted to do its own R&D inside of its own proprietary castle walls. The switch came about with a switch in leadership. And this goes to the fact that culture is sometimes necessary to change in order to make some of these shifts seem, they're all possible, but whether there's the leadership will and the decision to do that is another story. So once Microsoft decided, yeah, we can externalize our R&D and have all these developers make it easier and not harder for them to work on our software, the development costs went greatly reduced, and the company was able to take advantage of this whole ecosystem of people working on their code in their spare time. So it can go the other way. I mean, there's not an inherent morality or judgment about which direction of a shift is better. In this world, there might be examples where you go from asset light to asset heavy. I mean, Disney actually did that when it decided to start opening theme parks. And I guess now we're starting to see the risk, when you have a brand from a movie company or a brand that's been developed in any kind of way and then start putting it onto, buildings and resorts and things, that's moving in the opposite direction from light to heavy. But anyway, you better click me forward here, Glenn.
No, well, there's one other example, Eleanor, your friends at Litchfield Distilleries, how they had to, well, they didn't have to, but they quite voluntarily pivoted to hand sanitizers as a product differentiation and a really good pivot into this sort of COVID market. So
thank you, of course. And we do have some more local examples to pull out in response to some of these shifts. Looking at the profit centers to go from high cost to low cost would be to basically be willing to produce a less expensive, kind of to be your own knockoff in a way, to produce a less expensive way of getting to your product or service, and then acknowledging that with scaled back marketing, kind of a very mean and lean way of doing business with your partners to make up the reduced costs in quantity. The transactional to recurring revenue is interesting because that's where you're going from taking, and massage might be a great way to do this. I think this is a model that we've seen in the world of massage, where instead of just relying on the person to think of it and purchase each time, you set them up on a plan where there's a regular recurring commitment. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to schedule my massage this month. I decided one time that I wanted to do this for myself, and now I've got to show up for it. I personally love anything that involves a kind of management of, call me and tell me it's time to get my hair cut. It's like that kind of assistance is something that people are going for. And even some restaurants are signing up subscribers. Be among the first to try the new season's menus, and you could even build that into getting feedback so that your decisions about the next season's menu are based on what your kind of inner circle has to offer. Conventional to contrarian, a contrarian business model is where that some of the things you offer are valuable to customers and they are willing to pay for it, but you just want to pare down and just do fewer things. And so that may mean disappointing some of your customers because you're just going to isolate down to, one or two core things. And it's just a way of simplifying. we can spend more time going over this in our question and answer time. I can give you some examples, but I think that Apple has been known to behave this way in the iMac world, kind of stripping things down to the bare minimum. So the value proposition shifts from a product to a recurring service. That's similar to what we just said about services such as massage to get people to subscribe or commit to just doing something on a regular basis, except you're going from a purchase of a product to doing the same thing. And Rolls-Royce actually with its jet engines didn't just sell the jet engine, they sold like a lifetime care and maintenance that would include all the service components. And again, if you're relieving people of a cognitive burden, that can really fill a need, especially in these challenging times. It's a value add that people can't even articulate, but it just gives them that, if you're going to take care of something around a purchase that they're making in a new way. So that might be something to explore. And the low tech to high tech, the Netflix is the classic example. Those of us who remember the red envelopes that would arrive of DVDs in our mailbox are of a certain age. But when that faded away and went to the pure streaming, that was a business model shift and decision. And then sales to platform, you're really becoming the one engaging a community so that people who use your product or service can find each other, can compare best practices, can share ideas with each other, and convening in one form or another can become important to your business model. So all of these can be chances to play around. And of course, none of these are unidimensional. There's a lot of moving parts. But when you know what you're testing and you can get rapid feedback, that's the goal. You want to learn as fast as you can, especially when resources are finite, definitely not infinite. So, we look at adaptability as kind of being on this cycle of being able to step back and look at your business almost like, we do believe in science and the scientific method. And so you're sensing, you're getting data, you're looking at evidence of what that people value what you're doing and or not, and looking at those disruptions honestly, you can decide how to respond. You can set up an experiment or a hypothesis, even in the most challenging times, to see whether you can rein in what you're doing to best advantage given the circumstances in the marketplace. And then if you are able to surround yourself and be a cultural leader in that doing that is important on a regular basis, then you're kind of always doing that, like getting that portfolio of ideas in motion and pulling things out of the pipeline to test, having an environment where people can feel free to make suggestions and to help with all of that. And that's the optimizing. So where there can be various scenarios that may come about and you have not bet the whole farm on just one. So your success and adaptability doesn't depend on the world going your way, because life is what happens when we're busy making plans. I mean, plans are certainly valuable. It's the conversations that go into making the plans is probably the most valuable of all. I'm going to turn it back to you now, Glenn, since everyone's been wonderful to listen to all of this.
Thanks, Eleanor. It's interesting to listen to all of those great case studies, which I think most of us are sort of familiar with. And, and the reality is that they took years to pass. And the COVID reality is, as we know, quite different. But the good news is that we're able to all change quite quickly and dramatically in how we live and communicate, and in many cases, earn our money. So it's fascinating just to look at those changes over many years and what we as a community have traveled together in an accelerated way over the last 6 months. So we're here to help you. We're, like Marissa said, you know, small business really drives the community. It keeps the community together. And we have been doing this work for 10 years, and it's great to sit back and think about some of the journeys that we've gone with our clients. We're a great small team, and we really have cultivated many relationships with a lot of small businesses in and around this community, including that of the Chamber. You know, I have a few different roles at the Chamber, and the Chamber membership has been a tremendous sort of bridge building place for me to be, as I'm sure it is for most of the other people on this call. I'm also the Executive Director of Conscious Capitalism, where we've been able to bring the idea that business can be a tremendous change agent through the state as well. So I'm just grateful to have been here and to have had your attention for the last 45 minutes. And we do have a virtual booth at the event, and we're also going to set up a Zoom room. I think Ali's going to drop that in the chat now, where we can flip from this sort of webinar presentation mode into a Zoom room that has a little more where we can see you, number one, that's most important, and we can have probably a more intimate conversation about where you're at, how we can work together, and build a healthy brand. So Bob, I might pass it back to you if you don't mind, and we can just get it across the line. So thank you all for coming.
Great. Well, again, thank you, Glenn and Eleanor. This is a great wrap up to give us a full circle of ideas and concepts and thinking for the pivoting that's necessary to deal with 2020. And I want to make sure that we get, I don't have it in front of me, but there we go, the directions to get to your to either the virtual booth or the Zoom room. Looks like it just showed up on chat. And then your virtual booth, do we have that?
We can head everyone over there that wants to, and thanks for putting on this presentation. Glenn, Eleanor, Joe, yourself, Marissa, we really appreciate it. Very timely information, and I do want to say to Glenn's, as he mentioned, has been the chair of our Big Connect Expo committee for the last 2 years, and Glenn, we really do appreciate all of your hard work on this, the entire team. It's great to see all of this actually coming together, and it's been smooth for the first 2 days so far, and so we hope for 2 more smooth days as well. So just to wrap things up, I'll say if you want to join Eleanor and Glenn, and I'm not sure if Bob and Joe, Marissa, they may be able to navigate over there too. The Zoom room is open. This is our Zoom networking rooms, and you can head over there for more detailed conversation. As Glenn was saying, you'll be able to see each other and can have a lot more interaction. So that will be open over in the Zoom room, and it is in the chat, and we'll post it one more time if you don't see it there. But the way to get over there, the link will be in the chat. And now I want to, we have one video that we wanted to share with you. You know, we have been going through this process and talking about our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Awards. And so I want to take some time to recognize another business that we've been working with here at the Chamber and that our Diversity and Inclusion Council has been talking with. You know, the role of the Diversity and Inclusion Council of the Greater New Haven Chamber is to assist our business partners in serving a wide-ranging customer base, increasing economic success for all. We recognize the value and strength and competitive edge our region possesses within our diverse community, and I think you heard that in this morning's presentation if you were around for that. So during this expo, the D&I Council is honoring 4 minority-owned businesses and organizations for their continuing demonstrated commitment to the New Haven region. Their dedication, resilience, growth, and documented success helps advance our mission of creating a better future for all people in our community. Rayanne Truson, our Director of Membership Services, is here now to introduce Devon Kennedy, Elephant in the Room Boxing. Right. And it's coming up. Here he is.
Continue with our great conversations here at the Big Connect Expo 2020, Perfect Vision, to see Minority Business Award winners. And we have another great winner to talk with today for her tremendous efforts on behalf of our community. And the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce Diversity Inclusion Council has bestowed this award to Devon Kennedy, an elephant in the room boxing. Devon is joining us here as part of our expo. Devon, congratulations on behalf of the New Haven Chamber of Commerce, Diversity Inclusion Council, and the whole community who has a tremendous respect for what you've done with Elephant in the Room.
Thank you so much, Ray. What an honor. I'm super excited about this, our board and our children in our program. Thank you so much, and thank the Commerce for this nomination.
Well, your commitment to the community, the kids, all ages actually, is remarkable. How did you get started? Because this isn't something that everybody does. You're a boxer yourself, and you decided to take your skills and show the community what you've been doing.
Well, Ray, it's been a long course. I started out, just as sort of like a fitness, type of outlet. And, because I was always a bit overweight, and for me, it was about, finding something that I can have fun doing and also have it be great for my health and weight loss and things like that. So my initial idea was not to, try this thing competitively, but I did, and I did very well. And most times most people who come to our gym is typically for a fitness type outlet. But I actually ended up competing in the women's first World Games. And I was actually the only gold medal winner in the women's first World Games. And that was an amazing time in my life. And I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world. And I continue to compete on an international level. I've traveled all over the world, and it's been an amazing outlet for me. And I just want to share that with our youngsters and our community and beyond.
Well, I think your personal success is translated into the faces of the people that we're showing our viewers here right now when they step into the ring. And we're toasting you here, as you can see, but we're toasting
Thank
you for the effect that you've had with the Elephant in the Room Boxing Club. Let's talk about the kids. It's kind of poignant, but some of the kids are challenged and they're struggling in life, and you brought them in and mentored them.
Yeah, so where we're located, we're in the Newhartville area of New Haven. And in that particular area, there is minimum, and when I say minimum, outlets, recreation, rec halls, anything. There's not one thing in this particular area for these children except the gym. There was a rec center that was shut down probably more than 15 years ago, and it's just being rebuilt for the children, and that's the Q House on Dixwell Avenue. So these kids in this area haven't had very much in regards to somewhere to go, somewhere to keep their energy and keep them off the streets and out of trouble. So that's the idea behind this gym, is to sort of bring them, provide a safe haven for these children in this area. This is an area that has had its issues with crime and vandalism and gun violence and things like that. So this is a very, very important organization. My goal, we've been there 10 years. We're going on 11 years in this community, and we just love it over there. And I'm just so proud of how far we've come along with the community in that area.
Well, you've done a remarkable job with Elephant in the Room Boxing, and we'd love to just have you tell everybody how they can learn more about your program, how they can do it for their children, for themselves. You take adults, we've seen the pictures, and teens as well.
Yes.
How can they contact you and learn a little bit more?
So we have our website is eirboxing.org. They can reach out to us via the website. We also have a Facebook page, Elephant in the Room Boxing Club on Facebook, and we have Instagram as well. A lot of our most people, because it's such a small neighborhood, some people just walk in, and we like that too. We like people to just come on by. We're community based, and our idea is to open up our gym to everyone. We actually train children from 8 years old and up. We've had members who are in wheelchairs, and we reach out to the disabled. This boxing can actually serve any and everybody, and we do that. We will modify the program to suit our children who may have autism, ADHD, all those things that we know exist, and that is the elephant in the room.
A boxer, a winner, resilient, your achievement, your innovation. On behalf of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, the Diversity Inclusion Council, thanks again, Devon Kennedy, Elephant in the Room Boxing. Congratulations again on your award.
Thank you so much. And I would like to take this moment to thank my board and all our supporters who have been alongside us through this journey. And thank you again.
And that was awesome. Congratulations to Devon, and thank you, Ray, for bringing us that presentation. Great to hear about the work that she's doing in the community. Well, we've reached the end. It's the end of day 2 at the Big Connect presented by Comcast Business. Hard to believe it's been a great day of speakers, panels. I understand there's been a lot of great activity connecting on the Whova app, and then also in the web networking room, the Zoom networking room. So thank you to everyone who's made this a great day. Now, we still have 2 more days of programming to bring to you. So tomorrow morning, start early with us at 8 a.m. We're going to have the nonprofit awards and graduate school grant presentations. Then our keynote speaker is Bill Strickland, and Hope is the Cure for Cancer of the Human Spirit. That is going to be an excellent discussion. We've heard Bill speak. Great message that he's going to be bringing us tomorrow morning. At 10 o'clock, we're talking about advanced manufacturing, and we have a very strong panel of the new face of manufacturing. Commissioner Katie Dykes will join us at 11. And then right at noon, we're going to be talking about the growing biotech industry right here in the New Haven region. We have a panel of corporate experts who will tell us what's going on inside their companies and why they believe in New Haven. So again, another great day of opportunities. Tomorrow, all presented by AMS Practice Management, and the Big Connect, again, presented by Comcast Business. So please make sure you join us. Tell your friends. If you had a great time today, post on social media, let people know. The more people who are in the Whova app, the more connections that can be made, the better it is for everyone. And again, no cost to attend. Please make sure you're visiting our exhibitors. Again, the Foxwoods Resort Casino Prize, you can enter to win by going to one of the booths and making sure that you like one of their offers, that you get in a chat discussion, and that you engage with the vendor. So great opportunity to be able to win that. We've had another great day, and we really do look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you to everyone who helped put on today's programming. And again, a big thank you to the Big Connect Steering Committee. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning at the Big Connect.